You're good.
Welcome in for an off-ice guerrilla sports show. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. Go to trustedamerican.com to see how much they can save you today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome in, everybody. Guerrilla Sports Off Ice. Very special guest, very special episode. Again here today, Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley, joined by Olympic gold medalist, Walter Cup champion, and Minnesota Frost goaltender Nicole Hensley. Thank you so much for making some time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Glad we had the off day so I could come hang out.
I know. I was so excited when we were talking about this in the lead up. You're like, yeah, we got the day off for Monday. So I was like, oh, please. I'm really glad it worked out. And I'm glad that you guys are in town in general. Usually we got to try to line this stuff up off season in between, but you guys are here for a game.
Yeah. Super exciting to play in Ball Arena last night. And lucky we came out with a win against a really good Montreal team. So yeah, just kind of enjoying the day in Denver today, and we'll be off to New York tomorrow.
I was telling Meghan, we got really lucky with this takeover. Like people here in Denver, we got the top two teams in the league in last night, and it was the game lived up to it a bit.
Yeah, I felt like it was pretty back and forth, good chances both ways, and I thought you kind of saw the physicality of the league was on display too.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a little bit of everything, and all of our games against that team are really close. I mean, across the league, the games are always really close. Totally. But they're a hard team to play, so I'm happy to get 3 points out of it.
What and this may be a silly question, but you just mentioned the physicality. I didn't think that the open ice hits were allowed for PWHL.
Yeah, the rules are a bit confusing.
They were like, there were some bodies being thrown around yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit. I think overall the way the rule reads is that your feet need to be going the same direction as the other person to make that contact. They're trying to get rid of the head on.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, last year it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna allow this physicality. We've heard from you guys want that. And you kind of threw a bunch of people who hadn't checked, at least since they played boys in high school, maybe
right
into okay, how do we do this? How do we check correctly? How do we protect ourselves?
Yep.
And it was kind of learning on the fly. So then they kind of rewrote some of the contact rules this summer to kind of make it easier to understand. And I think we're still kind of working through it a little bit, but I think it's good. I think makes our game a little bit different than it's been, a little more exciting, but without getting rid of the finesse and the speed to the women's game.
Totally, because that's the skill is the most exciting part. But didn't I tell you yesterday? I said this feels more physical than even the games last year. Like you could tell that people are figuring it out.
Yeah, and how to use it to your advantage, and
totally,
be able to either bump somebody off the puck, give them an extra shove after they've released the puck. I'm thankful that it doesn't really involve me, and I can my job didn't change. So yeah.
They were tracking hits in the play-by-play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's loosely incorporated in the game, but I thought it was fun to see kind of a skirmish after the whistle, shoving and pushing.
Yes, our Czech menace, Dennis the Menace, we call her. She's always stirring it up.
We were rooting her on.
Yeah, I was like, get the cages off.
Yeah,
let's drop them. Yeah.
Well, when she got high sticked and she was like, "I'm bleeding. That's 4 minutes. That's 4 minutes." And I was like, I don't even know if that's a rule in our league. I don't know if that's allowed. I don't know. But yeah, we're also used to, the NHL guys, if they get clipped, it's like, yep, blood, an extra 2. And
easy.
She's like, I'm bleeding. And the ref's like, that's because she hit your helmet into you. And she's like, no, this is where her stick hit me. It's like, I don't know if we are allowed to do that.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a rule here. That's great. My first question for you is, did you feel the altitude?
I think it practiced yesterday a little bit.
Yeah.
It was, the girls talked about before the game keeping the shift short and to try and make it less of a factor. And we were joking because on one of our penalty kills, Maggie Flaherty was out there for almost the entirety of the kill. And she said later, she was like, I can just feel the blood in my lungs. Like it was so bad. And so we kind of talked about it and trying to stay hydrated and stuff. I felt like, at practice, it was kind of a little wake up call for everyone. But, when you know that Montreal's not used to the altitude either, and we're all in the same boat, as opposed to when people come play the Avs, and the Avs are very accustomed to it, obviously. So yeah, it was definitely there.
Can you take me back to the Learn to Skate clinic on Saturday and what that turnout was like from your perspective?
Yeah, the turnout, it seemed overwhelming almost. There were so many little girls there. And obviously we love to be able to get in front of them and provide them with role models. So to get a couple of our players on the ice and get to skate around with them and interact with them and sign some autographs after, I think that does so much for the game itself to, it just get in front of the kids and interact with them. And probably, when you do that, you're more likely to become their favorite player than scoring a goal or making a save on the ice. So we know how important that is. And it's important to us to, be out in the communities that we're on for this tour.
Last year, I remember the couple times that we were able to chat, you guys talking a lot about exactly that and being able to see, the faces and all the signs down at the glass and the jerseys. Is it getting to the point now where in the best way, is it starting to feel like the norm and no longer like this, oh man, we didn't think that this would be here? Like I remember you telling me on Saturday, like people don't know what to expect. I know what to expect. Is it starting to feel in the best way possible? Like, no, this is normal.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll ever feel like normal almost. It's always just so exciting to go out to a crowd like that. Especially when it's so energetic and into the game. And we're very fortunate to get that in Minnesota consistently. And so I think coming here to Denver, everyone was excited to come. And I just was like, no, I don't think you understand. Like Denver's really excited to have this game. So to see all the little girls there and to take this tour to places that don't have teams at the current time to, provide them with like, it's great that you can always watch on YouTube and it's so accessible in that way, but to get actually physically in front of different crowds to be able to spread the game as well. It was awesome.
The YouTube stuff, I think, is such an underrated component of what the league has done so right in the first year and a half is because, I mean, like really there's like women's hockey has always been fun and exciting. And you normally would only get to see it, on a large scale at the Olympics every 4 years, but them tapping into the digital market and getting it in front of everyone, as long as you got a phone or a computer, like I just think that has been such an underrated part of what the league has done right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Cause for other women's sports, like you might have to buy some kind of channel or package or something to be able to watch it. And it makes it harder to get to it. And then it's not, if somebody is like, oh, well, like I'd watch it if it's on, but if I have to pay for it to watch, then I might not. Like,
right.
So I think it's really important to have that platform to be able to draw in so many people are just like, yeah, if it's on, I'll watch. But if I have to go find it, like I'm probably not going to get there,
If I got to go find it or if I got to pay more to get it. Yeah, no, for sure. It just takes down another barrier, which I just think is great.
Something that really struck me was seeing the team merch in the arena. You're not even in a home arena, but you have Montreal merch, you have Minnesota merch. And I guess I wanted to hear from you the significance of finally getting some official branding to the team and how it allows the fans even outside of Minnesota to feel connected to the women's team that they're supporting.
Yeah, I agree. Like it didn't really, last year it made a lot of sense to wait and make sure they got like the branding in each market correct for each market. And so at the time you didn't really think much about not having that until somebody asked you, oh, well, who do you play for? And you're like, oh, I play for PWHL Minnesota.
Right.
And then it's kind of like, oh, like it's just a weird reaction you get for that. So to be actually able to say like, oh, I play for the Minnesota Frost, like it does feel different. And I think having those logos, and we always joke that it's really hard to chant like go Minnesota, like it's too long. So we're like, okay, Frost, like that's quick, like let's go Frost, like that's easy. And yeah, I think it just allows us to connect with the fans better. And it is so cool to look up and see everyone wearing even, both teams stuff yesterday.
A lot of
It was
purple.
there was a lot of purple. We felt
Yeah.
we felt like we were at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it was just cool to see all of that in the stands, and we saw some Boston jerseys and stuff too. So it's just awesome to see how far west it's all made it.
I also think, and I don't know how much you can agree with this publicly, I think you guys did. I think Minnesota nailed it the best. I think you guys have the best logo, best color scheme. I think you guys nailed it.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree. Yeah, I love it. I think we knew kind of from the hints they were giving that it was going to be something like frost, chill, blizzard, and I don't know, frost just fits and
Yeah.
it goes well with, obviously it's 7 degrees in Minnesota right now, so it fits. So yeah, but I love our colors. I love the purple. I love getting to have like purple pads and stuff like that. So it's kind of just a little bit different, I feel like.
All right, I'm going to jump ahead on my questions actually because you brought them up. What's your process for designing pads? And your mask is awesome as well, that I got a close look at the other day. How do you go through all that?
I think you spend a lot of time on the like customizer that the gear company sends you to
That
try
was
and
my
decide.
childhood before social media. I wasn't even
Yeah.
a goalie growing up, but I just played around on the customizer all day.
It's so fun, and to kind of get to go. I think that's obviously something that's super unique to being a goaltender, is you get to show a little bit of your personality with that stuff. And for me, when I was just coming up into like the USA hockey camps and stuff, I had at school like the brown retro pads, because our jerseys were kind of throwbacky ish. So it kind of went together really well. And I was told like by some USA hockey people I needed to have white pads because I was short and that would make me look taller. And I just like really resented that for some reason. And so the first thing I did was like, okay, well, what makes someone look taller? Like stripes. So I refused to just go like base white, and I had like vertical stripes on my pads. And so for a long time, I've really tried to incorporate that into a lot of my designs. And then for this, with the way our logo is with the frost and kind of like lots of points and angles, I kind of wanted to do something like that in the pad. So it's got the purple stripe in the middle that comes down to a point, was kind of my thoughts with that. And then my helmet, it's hard to come up with different things, especially last year when we didn't have logos. It was like, well, what am I going to put on here? So to kind of get to go with the frost and make it icy, I guess, was my main goal with the helmet. And I kind of have like a woodsy outdoor feel on one side and Minneapolis skyline on the other. And there's like a little Yeti hiding in the woods on the one side. So, but was really cool too is that it changes color. So at room temperature, it is mostly white. And then as you get on the ice and it cools down, it becomes more and more purple.
That's so cool.
So it's from like Sila Brush Designs did it out of Montreal, and she does like Vasilevsky's mask. So he's had some of those.
I thought I just saw
color.
something recently about him having one that changed color. So when you were telling us that, I was like, I wonder if they're
Yep.
All right.
So she's the best, and I love working with her. And she is, I don't know, sometimes it's really hard for someone to like see your vision with what you want on the mask, while still obviously they're the designer, like them making it there. So, but she's always been so amazing to work with. And so, just happy we were able to make it come to life.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to follow up with equipment specifically without just totally changing topics. I'm sorry.
Goalie, huh?
No, I'm racking my brain like so.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I kind of derailed, but
No,
you mentioned
it's okay.
the pads.
It's a great question.
Megan sees me go up and like when Scott Wedgwood got to town, I was like, so what are you doing with your pads?
Yeah, what
how
are
are you
you
going to
gonna
change
do?
these
Yeah,
up? And so I'm always, like I said, I spent hours customizing gear that I didn't even wear growing up. So I'm just always into it. But
so I can just,
you can get us back on the rails. Sorry.
No, these are good rails. These are good paths to take too. I wanted to talk a little bit about the game, the U.S. attendance record, and making a new record in the United States for attendance in professional women's hockey. What is it like from the player perspective to also hear the "We Want a Team" chants just the second year into the existence of the PWHL, and hockey fans are crying out for expansion?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't think at any of the expansion stops, any of the like tour stops last year or this year, like that anyone's broken out in a "We Want a Team" chant. So I thought it was so cool, and they showed like the attendance on the screen and talked about it breaking the record, the US record, and then it was like immediate that the crowd broke out into "We Want a Team" chants. And I just kind of was like taking a moment and just kind of like looking around, thinking about like how cool that is. You have 14,000 people in here asking to bring a women's sports team to Denver. And yeah, it kind of gave me chills, and it was cool to just look around and kind of take in that moment. And yeah, obviously being from here, it was so cool to just kind of take that all in.
Did that meet the expectations of what you were thinking what the turnout was going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I knew it would go really well, and I've talked to enough friends, family, and like past coaches or current coaches, and I know that like the women's leagues usually play on Sundays, and they completely rearranged all of their scheduling so that I think pretty much every like women's league team in the state was there.
Yeah.
And so I think that shows you just how important it is that people are like rearranging, their game schedules, and it's not easy to get ice. So to, to move that stuff around to be present is really cool. And yeah, so I felt like just in the people I had talked to, I had a feeling that it was going to be a pretty big crowd and a pretty ruckus crowd too. So
it was loud. Like it was loud.
It was loud.
When you guys hit the ice for warmups, it was loud. When you got announced to go take the ceremonial face off, we were talking about it a little bit before. I don't remember the last time I've seen a goalie take a ceremonial face off. What was it like?
It was, yeah, I honestly, during the anthems, I like couldn't stand. I was so nervous, which sounds probably just silly. I don't know, but yeah, it's not, I'd never done it before. And it was something that kind of our captains came to me with and asked if I wanted to do it, just with obviously the way things went injury wise and everything, not being able to play in the game. So they felt like it would be a cool way to still be able to be recognized. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then I'm just like a really logical person. So now I'm sitting there thinking about, okay, like I'm supposed to win the draw because we're the home team. If like, so the home team, whatever, is supposed to win it. And then I'm like, okay, I can, most players just like, oh, let me take off my glove. I'm going to pick up the puck and hand it to the person. I'm like, okay, I have to swing my stick around and put it in this arm, and then I have to take this off, and I'm probably going to have to go down on a knee to pick up the puck. And it was like, and while doing all of this, I can't swing my stick too far and accidentally hit Pat or hit Kristen. So I'm like, how do I do all this? And so I was just like nervous that I was going to drop something the logistics really had me a little nervous.
Well, you did great.
Thank you.
But no, I was excited that and Ken mentioned it a little bit. Head coach Ken Klee mentioned that, you were coming back from an injury after the game. As you just said, working your way back. I was happy that you were able to take part in, the game and all that stuff, and you weren't completely on the shelf. But I was happy that, Alan Roach is there, and I don't know, maybe that's kind of a silly thing, but I was glad that he was able to, announce you Colorado native, all that stuff. Cause that was the number one thing where in the lead up to it, I was like, man, if she can play, that's going to be a massive ovation when you were announced. So I was happy that moment still got to be had.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool. I think, it was a really emotional week leading up to it. To be close, but not close enough, I guess. Yeah, it was definitely really hard. And I feel like I held it together yesterday until after the game kind of got to me a little bit, not being able to play in the game. But yeah, to at least be there and be a part of it. And you get to, when you're not starting, you do get to experience it a little bit differently and take it all in differently. It's not the same and it's not as good, but still there, to be able to kind of, cause like I'm someone that if I'm playing, I don't toss pucks in warmups. I don't really interact and that kind of stuff. But to be able to just like have kind of those interactions yesterday isn't something I would have done if I was playing. So,
nice.
There are different positives to it, but I mean, nothing comes close to playing in the game, but kind of just trying to make the most of the situation.
For sure.
You mentioned that you were getting close. Is it something where when they play Montreal again coming up in a few days, you might be ready to play by then?
I mean, I hope so. I think being on the road trip's obviously a good sign. So yeah, we'll see. It's kind of, I don't know, it's just the
It's
process.
day by day.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask about being behind the bench, even seeing your team competing on ball arena ice, because you grew up an Avs fan, and that is some pretty historic ice. Even just the recent 2022 Stanley Cup, some playoff games played there by champions, players that I'm sure you admire. What was that aspect of it like?
it was cool. I think just even being in the Avs room too was I didn't know we were going to be in there for the game, so just to be in that space. And obviously the Avs have a ton of pictures of important moments to the franchise in there. So just, I'm looking at all of them like, oh, I remember where I was when that happened or that happened. And, or like the game at Air Force, like I was there for that. So just a bunch of cool moments that kind of get to see, and everyone's kind of looking on the wall at like different people that have won, the individual awards for the Avs too. So it was definitely cool to kind of be in that space and take that in, and yeah, to get to be out on the ice and everything, and obviously skate over the A and those things was really cool.
Just you are a big Avs fan. I know you follow the Avs. What did you think of the goalie moves?
It's actually funny. So I had seen when I lived in St. Louis, the Devils were there, and I happened to have tickets to that game, and Blackwood played.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching him. I was like, he's really good. Like, he's very fun to watch. He's really technically sound. Like, and was like, wow, I just didn't know who he was, but wow, he's really good. And then, we were in San Jose, with the national team earlier this year, and, happened to go to a Sharks game, and he was playing, and I was just like, yeah, like, I just think he's really good. And, so then when the Avs made the move, I was like, oh, this could be really good. This could be. So, it's cool what they've been able to come in. Both him and Wedgwood have come in and been able to do. And, it's, you always want, no matter who it is for goaltenders, you're always just rooting for them, because you know what it's like to be in that position. So, it was really cool to see kind of the team start rallying and picking up steam here as they go through the season.
Yeah, he's Blackwood. That was what you said about like very technically sound. Is the first thing I noticed when he got to town. I was like, "Ooh, this guy's movements are sharp." Like, no, he's been great so far. But just piggybacking off that, being in Ball Arena, all that stuff. What did the weekend overall? Now that you did it, and not just lead up. What did it all mean to you? Like when you took that moment last night to kind of stop and reflect on all of it.
Yeah, I think it just is a very full circle moment for me. Like, I haven't played a game in Colorado since I was in high school. And even then, like, my junior and senior year of high school, I played on a team, all girls team that had to travel to like the East Coast or Minnesota or Canada to compete at a very high level. So I only played 4 games in Colorado, really, my junior and senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I have to go back all the way to when I was a sophomore is when I really just like played hockey in Colorado. So it had just been like, I guess like almost probably 16 years really. So, and there's been times in the past where the national team was maybe going to have a stop here in different years and didn't work out for whatever reasons. And so, yeah, to finally like have that, to just get to be here and see so many people excited about hockey. And I've seen how much the girls game has grown since I was growing up here, and there was really only one association to play for. And now these girls have so many options, and that's just really cool to see. And obviously shows why, like, this market was picked for a tour game. So
I'm going to, again, kind of take a little bit of a detour here, but you were just talking about, the travel and, growing up playing hockey and having hockey parents. Like that's a strain. That's tough. And getting, let alone the money and the cost of all of it, but getting you there and, supporting all that stuff. Did that make it extra special to get to play in front of your parents, or get to, be part of this game in front of your parents this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm pretty fortunate that they are able to have been able to come watch a lot of games over the course of my career. And so it's always really special when they get to come, and I know that that's not, true for everyone that plays, that their parents are able to do that. So, getting the chance to, to play in front of them where they actually got to drive from home to the game was cool. So, and then just getting to go out to dinner and hang out with them and some family friends last night was also pretty fun. And yeah, so it means a lot. They've been nothing but supportive. And I think something people say is like, you kind of have to be a little selfish to be a hockey player because it does take so much money, so much effort, and so much time, which is kind of true across all sports at this point. But yeah, so I definitely wouldn't be here without them.
I wanted to ask you about being in your title defense season because we saw how the Avs really experienced some challenges the year following their cup win. What has it been like for you guys as a group? Have you experienced some challenges, some adversity? You're number one in the PWHL right now with the win. So I'm curious what this year has been like for you guys as a group.
Yeah, I think we've actually had quite a bit going on with we've had an injury bug and illness bug kind of all at once. We've got like Grace Zumwinkle and Dom Petrie weren't traveling with us, and Heisey missed a game, and then we had Melissa Channel and Sophie Jackson. So it just feels like we've kind of been going down the line with all of this stuff, but I think it's really shown kind of the depth of our group. And I think we do a really good job of everyone does their roles and like does them really well. And I think we're really fortunate to have a group that is very focused on the group's success and whatever the individual can do to like help with that, I think is kind of what makes our team strong. And I think that is on full display right now as we've kind of been battling some of these injuries. It seems like we're on the way back up and getting healthy again, but yeah, it was very touch and go there for a bit. So knock on wood, hopefully that's done.
To Megan's point about, we saw that turnaround with the Avs a few years ago. You finish playing, then suddenly you blink and you're back at camp and all that stuff. Did it feel a little bit like that too, especially with it being the first season to suddenly be like, oh my gosh, we're already back doing this again? Was there a little bit of that?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit, and I think too it was like you didn't really know how to prepare for a season like this because we've never done it before.
Totally.
So then to go into this summer and have more of an idea of how to prep for it off season wise. Like I think I probably took more time off the ice than I ever have before.
Interesting.
Because we spent so much more time on the ice last year than I ever have as I'm getting older here. And so I think that was kind of, now you kind of knew how to handle it going through that. And then even like just what to do on a day-to-day basis in terms of, I think like the way we structure our practices and our lifts, like it is a lot on you to decide, okay, how many sets should I do for our workout today? Like, oh, should I do this power workout or should I do this strength workout? So you just there's a lot of individual decisions that you kind of have to weigh what's best for you and your body, or, so I think it's a lot of learning on the go, but we had a little bit more of a understanding of what it would take to, play the full season this year.
And they added some games. So I was curious if even the addition of a few more games has been felt, or if it's just enough that it doesn't to completely shock the system.
Yeah, I think because we went from, it was 24 regular season games last year to I think it's 30 now. So it is kind of, we were like thinking about it. We're like, okay, at this point now we have as many games left as we played all last year. So it was kind of a funny realization, but yeah, I think you're just kind of, trying to manage it and what's best for your body and like when you need to take a day completely away from the rink because those are rare. So kind of learning how to individually handle those things. And I think it's probably not enough games added to make like too big a difference, but at the same time, it does make it a little bit longer. So just to be aware of that, I guess.
Like you said, the personal decisions to, and learning how to do that. Because another thing that we've talked about before is the change from, the international circuit to full-time pro in season, all that stuff. I guess, how has that been now, going through it for a year of going from, your team was kind of always changing of who was on it and you'd be together for this amount of time. Then how has it been going to now this, where no, this is your group all the time and you play all these games together that all count?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like playing internationally with Team USA versus like having the Minnesota Frost and being there full time, like they both mean so much to you, but they're very like, it's so different
Mhm.
in some ways. Like, you know, we go day in, day out. You see your Frost teammates every single day, and
Yep.
you know, you go through so many ups and downs with them, which obviously makes you a really close group. But then at the same time, with the USA Hockey side of it, it's like you go through a lot of ups and downs. It's just all jam packed into a week.
Totally.
And then you go your separate ways and see each other. Like when you play each other, then it's like you get back together again, and it's like, okay, we've got a week and we got to make the most of it. And where can we get better on the ice and closer off the ice? And so it's like you're trying to jam pack that all into like a week at a time. And then it's just day in and day out over here. So it's similar, but it is, you know, you're keeping up with your USA Hockey teammates. Like, how are you doing? How are things going? But then, like, you know, they might not be as forthcoming with information now because they're like, oh, we play you tomorrow. Like, you know, so it is kind of a funny balance.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to know, sorry, my mind just drew a blank, but I wanted to talk a little bit about, we asked about the goaltending change, Colorado, your perspective. As a goaltender, one of the key things that we've talked about is how much of a difference having vocal goalies in the room has made on the chemistry in the room. And so I wanted a goaltender's perspective. I guess I imagine that you are pretty connected with your group. I don't know if you would use the word vocal to describe yourself, but we had you mic'd up. So I think you've got a pretty good connection with your group. Have you ever felt disconnected from a team in the past? I guess, what is that relationship like from the goalie out?
Yeah, it is. It is a weird position because it's a very individualized position in a team sport. And so I think that I've always been, I guess I just, when I was young, like a coach told me it's like really important for you to talk and like tell your on the ice, like tell your team, oh, man on, or like go D to D, or like things like that. And so I was just like, well, okay, you know, I can do that.
I can
So
talk, yeah.
yeah. And so it kind of is naturally part of my, I don't know, the way I go about a game is to communicate with them on the ice. And obviously that's really important. But I think off the ice, you get really close to your defenseman because, you know, in practice, like the forwards are trying to score on you, but the D are trying to help you. So, you know, I think you kind of, I've like seen some of the clips of them mic'd up, and you can tell like all the ones in the black jerseys are the D, and like, you know, one of them shoots on me and I give her a little whack. And then, you know, Maggie, one of our D's, like apologizing to me for how she played a 2-on-1. And I'm like, no, like you were fine. I should have done this. So, you know, I think that really makes it, I think that's what makes a close knit group, and what's important for like the team to know that, you know, to have a goaltender back there that takes responsibility and like can be like, you know, that one's on me, guys. And they're going to be like, no, we got your back. And I think that all comes from your relationships with people off the ice.
Totally.
You know, so I think that you have to have a strong bond with the group off the ice as a whole, to have any sort of success or trust on the ice. So I think it's something that kind of build over time, and now to have had a pretty similar group coming back this year, you know, I think we've built that, both Maddie and I, with the D. So yeah, we just have a good time back there, and have some good laughs. But yeah, at the same time, we're always like, that's like what's funny about D and goalies is when we communicate, it's like, oh, sorry, like that was my fault. And they're like, no, that was on me. And so it's a very forgiving group, which we like.
You made a comment during that practice about a drill not being goalie friendly. And we talk about all the time, specifically at like training camp, where it's like, that does not, like those days don't seem fun for you guys. Like there's some of those drills where it's like, this drill is designed for goals to be scored.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does not seem fun. Are there practices that aren't always fun?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There are some days where Maddie and I we'll just like look at each other and we're like, how are you doing? Like, not good. How you doing? And it's like, just try and hang in there, you know. And it's obviously good to have someone to go through it with. And yeah, there are definitely days where it's about the players feeling good and scoring goals, and you know, but then there are other days where it's more about defensive stuff. So I won't say it balances out, because it's mostly about them scoring goals. Yeah. It's mostly about them scoring goals. But yeah, I think that's why it's, you know, important to keep it light and understand that the drills might be unrealistic, and you've got to be like forgiving with yourself. So but yeah, we'll have to, I hope Ken's watching.
Yeah.
Make goalie friendly practices.
Yes, seriously.
Why is it important to have a good relationship with your goaltender, Maddie? You know, goalie to goalie leaning on each other. Why is that significant?
I think that, when we've got two people that our team's really comfortable to play in front of, and I think it makes it just easier on everyone when goalies get along. And so I'm very fortunate that Maddie and I have been. I think we first played together in 2017 on the national team. So we've been goalie partners for a really long time, and both kind of know what each other likes and needs on game day. Like you might have seen yesterday, Maddie comes to the bench. Maddie likes to joke and chat, and she's pretty laid back, and she'll be like, if something crazy happens, she'll be like, well, we got kind of lucky there, like always wants to chat. And then I come over and grab my water bottle, and she'll try to get in like a, like, good job, or like, that was a good save. And I'm just like, I gotta go. Like, I don't want to talk. So to just kind of have, to know what each other likes and needs to perform well and to be supportive. I mean, I think sometimes if you've got a situation where that person is waiting on you to fail for, them to be up, or, it's not uncomfortable. It's just part of playing the position. It's just natural. But I think to have someone that's cheering for you and rooting for you, and we've both been through a lot of ups and downs together, or it's been like, sometimes when I'm having a down, she's having an up, or when she's having up, I'm having a down. But to just know that, we always come back to each other, and it's just always supportive. And I think it's just like really healthy for the team to have that, and obviously really healthy for the two of us too.
So I was just going to say, does that make it easier to share the net? Like, if it's someone that you are supportive with and good friends with, that, I'm not getting the start. Maybe even, a day like yesterday where it's like, well, if I can't play, I'm happy that she's getting to do this.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, and to kind of, Maddie had looked at me at one point and been like, I just can't imagine how you feel right now. Like, I'm really sorry, and to just like, she doesn't have to say that. Like, she's playing in a game in front of 14,000 people, and like, it's important to her too. So I think that that's just really cool that we can just be real with each other. And and that's not true all the time. And I'm very fortunate that I have the same relationship with like Aaron Frankel on the national team. It's a very supportive environment. Like the other day when they went to Seattle, and they brought like little foam fishies into their walk-in. And then when I was after we had played them, when they came back from that, I'm getting dressed, and I like Velcro my pads, and a foam fishy dropped out. And I was like, wonder where this is from. So I was like, I'm gonna have to figure out who on Boston did this, and I have a guess. But so to have those kind of relationships with the people that understand what it's like to play the position, I just think is such an advantage.
Yeah.
Between games, do you pick each other's brains or even get a second opinion on goalie specific things?
I think sometimes, it's kind of, it'll be like, we'll talk about, Maddie and I play fairly different games, I would say. So it's kind of like, oh, you attack this like this, but I would attack it like this. So then it's kind of like, like maybe I could try and incorporate that, or, and I think sometimes we just kind of, mostly it's like if one of us lets a goal in, and we're like, oh, that was bad, like I should have had it. The other one's like, no, this and this happened. That's not true, So I think that we both kind of go to bat for each other and defend each other, and things like that. But there is like a lot of communication, and we have a really good goalie coach in Pete Samardzija that's kind of completes our little group with Lucy as well. So it's a very happy, fun, friendly group.
I'm on to my fun question. So if you got anything else,
let's go fun. They've all been fun.
They've all been fun.
What was the number one like Denver thing you were looking forward to this weekend?
That's a good question. I think aside from just like being in the arena and playing and everything, I haven't made it to Little Man Ice Cream yet, but I will. So that's an important one. And it was just kind of like giving, just showing teammates and friends where I live, because in Minnesota, most of my friends are from Minnesota. So I've seen their world. I know their world. And like Maddie went to Red Rocks this morning, and kind of that's a special place to me too. So just for them to kind of see things that I grew up with and are important to me, I think was big.
Yeah.
Kind of similar, but like I imagine you guys went to dinner yesterday, or did you do a home dinner?
I went to dinner. We went to the Rio Grande yesterday, and I'd given my teammates like a list of downtown recommendations, and I was sitting there with dinner with them, and I hear this, "Oh my gosh, Nicole Hensley, we're the biggest fans." And I turn around and it's Maggie Flaherty, and I was like, look around, and it's the whole team decided that's where they were going for dinner. So I was like,
the recommendation.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, hi guys. So so it was kind of funny, and so it was just hung out a little bit downtown, and then that was that. So
I didn't get to be here for when you were in the studio last time when you had the Walter Cup with you. So I didn't get to ask you about the overtime from the final. And I've had this like written down in my notebook since it happened. So I apologize for making you talk about it again.
Oh, good.
But it ended well, right?
It did.
So I have to ask, because I was watching when it happened, and it's a celebration, and then the camera cut to a conversation being had with the refs. And I remember thinking like, uh-oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Can you just walk me through it again? What happened in your head? How did the whole thing kind of unfold? And how do you possibly get yourself back into a game like that?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. So, I mean, watching from the other end, I didn't see in real time Heisey run into Aaron. So I just saw the puck go in the net, arms go in the air, fans jumping in the air.
Yep.
So for me, it's like, it was kind of a sprint down the ice. And then Maddie met me like halfway, and we're like hugging as we continue skating. And it was just a wild, like everyone getting like excited, gloves, helmets, sticks everywhere.
Yep.
And I remember I don't know what made me look that way, but I turned and saw there was a discussion with Hillary Knight and the refs at center ice. And I just like grabbed Kendall out of the pile, and I was like, something's wrong. Like, Kendall skates up there. So now we're all kind of looking around. They say the goal's under review. So now I'm standing with Maddie, and we're looking up. They're playing the goal on the big screen. And I looked at it, and I was like, we both go, we're not done playing hockey here tonight. So it was,
especially I'm sure from a goalie's perspective, where it's like, well, if that was me, I wouldn't be standing for that.
So it was just unfortunate that Heisey lost an edge and fell into Aaron, and who knows like what happens after, if that doesn't happen, so then it was kind of like, all right, where are the helmets, where are my gloves? And it was
easier for you to find your stuff than some of the skaters.
They're all like, this is fine. So kind of go back to the net, and at that point there wasn't very long till the end of that overtime, and it was kind of like, okay, if we can get to the end of this overtime and just like regroup, kind of, I think, the collective. And they came down and had one like low blocker shot, put it in the corner, and I was kind of like, okay, like we're fine. And then Mueller came down and just had her like a really good shot over my glove, and it went in. And it was just weird. You went from thinking that you won it all and it was over and you were done playing hockey for the year to, okay, we have to go back to Boston. And it was kind of, our room after, it was really interesting. It was just silent. And the way our locker rooms are at the X, if there's no music or anything playing, like the locker rooms are close enough that we can hear what's happening in that one. And so I don't know, there was never any panic or feeling sorry for ourselves or any of that. It was just kind of, it was very business-like we're going to Boston, and we're going to do what we have to do in Boston. And I think that shows the resiliency of our group. It would have been really easy to just be like, this is unfair, or this isn't right, or because I do remember like one of the girls said like, well, what are they going to do? Make us keep playing? Like they won't disallow this goal. And I was like, no, I think that's exactly what they're going to do. So to come into the locker room, and it just was a very business like mentality that was like, that's fine, we'll go to Boston then. And that was what we did.
Well, I remember watching the replay, and after they had, said that it was no goal, and seeing the replay of it, my first thought was like, that ref should have waved that off right away. Like there was enough contact there that the official who was down low should have been like, hold on. So I did think about that because made an emphatic call for a goal. And yeah, I just from the minute that happened, I was like, well, I gotta talk to Nicole about that because I don't know how you forget even collecting yourself for the rest of the game. I don't know how you guys collected yourselves to play. Was it 2 nights later?
Yeah, because I honestly, at the time, the way our schedule worked out, like I think ideally we would have flown out the next day, like gone to Boston, then practiced in Boston, and then played that next day.
Yeah.
And the way our schedule worked out, we ended up staying in Minnesota, kind of like we are this leg of this
right now,
trip,
yeah.
like staying here. And so everyone, we didn't skate or anything, but everyone went in and got treatment. And so you kind of saw each other, but you had some time to decompress kind of in your own space and sleep in your own bed. And then we flew the next day. And I don't, it's hard to say if that played a role or not, but I do think there was something to not just turning around altogether and getting on a plane the next day and going, that allowed people to kind of just take a minute.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think that might have been helpful, and I know like from Boston side of it, it's like, yep, we're going home. Like, let's get to our own beds and sleep there tonight, so,
right.
I mean,
who's give you a chance to shake it off.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, who's to say what was right or wrong? And it may have had nothing to do with it, but, I do think that might have been helpful for us in the end.
Yep.
Obviously that was the right call in that moment, but I wondered if goalie interference is as confusing in the PWHL as it is in the NHL.
Yes.
I think they've done a good job this year. I don't remember last year as much, but there have been quite a few goals waved off this year for goaltender interference, but I've seen it go the other way too, where it was called no goal on the ice.
Yeah.
And then they went and looked at it and
interesting.
ended up calling it a goal. So I do think when they've gone to the monitor on those things, I don't know if it's the people in Toronto or like who makes the final call, but I think they've done actually a pretty good job this year of. So as a goaltender right now, I have no complaints. We might have to reconvene later and see if that changes.
Yeah, we'll check back. At the end of the season, we'll check back on that one. Olympic year next year, is that on the radar?
I think it's always in the back of your head to want to represent your country, and it is on your mind when you're going day to day. Like some of the choices you make, you want to make the right choices to put you in a good spot down the road. But I think for the most part, it's just kind of about being in the moment and competing whenever you get the opportunity with the Frost or with the national team. So kind of just focusing on day to day, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. The last question that I got for you is about expansion, and I know you don't have much pull. Well, I guess maybe you probably have some pull, but I know you're not the one making that final decision. But how often are you in the ear of folks, especially after yesterday, saying, "Hey, Denver might be a good spot"?
I think I think after yesterday, I can just be like, "See, I told you." Like we just broke an attendance record. See.
Yeah.
And I think obviously Denver getting a women's soccer team, shows kind of where we're at as a city, and that people want women's sports and they want to, be able to go watch them here. Like we don't, until that soccer team comes, like we don't have that.
Right.
And I think that this is a great market, and I think a team would do well here. So, I think Denver made a very strong case for itself yesterday. And like I said, though, we want a team chance. Like that was just so natural and so cool to see that happen. And that hasn't happened anywhere else. So Denver's asking, Yeah.
It's such an underrated sports city, I think nationally. And so I think yesterday is another feather in that cap.
Yeah, keeping in mind they're competing with Denver Broncos at the same time, and they draw 14,000 plus.
That's the other part of this, because as much part of the reason I got into media was because growing up I was always like, why doesn't everyone only talk about the Broncos? There's but when because this game has been on the schedule for months, and when that got announced last week that the Broncos, I was like, oh man, they're gonna be going head to head. And I actually think that is something that made yesterday even more impressive, was that game went head to head with the the first Denver Bronco playoff game in 9 years.
Yeah.
And it was packed about as full as they made it available. Sets the record, all that stuff. It was just something for me that, like I said, as a kid, I remember in 2001, the Avs beat the Blues to go to the Stanley Cup final. And the front page of the sports section was about a Broncos player in the, like what he was doing in the offseason. And I was like, what are we doing here? That, the hockey team's going to, and that's when I was a teeny little kid.
Yeah.
So to see that yesterday was kind of this really cool, like this is a hockey city. This is a great sports town. And that just proved it, solidified it.
I have one more fun question.
Love it.
I love to hear questions about players picking goal songs, but goalies should also get to pick songs for like a shutout.
Yeah.
What would your goalie song be?
That's a good question.
I'm never good at answering. Like,
I know,
what's your
like,
music? What's your go-to song?
Yeah.
I'm never good at that.
I know I'm not good at it either.
Honestly, anything by Dua Lipa, probably.
That's such a good answer.
That's a
That's
great
such a
answer.
good answer.
Yeah, I think just anything fun like that. Yeah, that'd be. I don't know which one. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
Gets people dancing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
yeah.
it.
That's the official task for you and Maddie. For before the next time we
Yes.
talk to you, have your
Okay.
goalie songs.
Goalie
Alright,
songs.
yeah.
Perfect.
We'll go chat.
Yeah. Nicole, I can't thank you enough for not only today, but how amazing you were and generous you were with your time all weekend with us. We have a whole lot of content coming out this week that we made with Nicole over the weekend. And I just can't thank you enough for everything that you did for us this weekend.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. It's always so fun to come chat with you guys and get to see you at the rink and everything. And so, yeah, thank you guys.
No, yeah, this was great.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's a blast for us. We're very lucky. So I'm sure we'll cross paths again at some point this season. But if not, we'll have you back here in the summer. Hopefully you can bring the cup by again.
Yes, sounds good. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. She's Nicole Hensley. I almost said PWHL Minnesota. Minnesota Frost goaltender, Olympic gold medalist, and defending Walter Cup champion. I'm Jesse Montano. She's Meghan Angley. Thomas behind the glass today, helping make all this happen. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. We'll be back at it tomorrow. It's Tuesday. Today's Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Avs game day, regular podcast, all that good stuff. But thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Nicole, thanks for stopping by. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Thanks so much, everybody.